Welcome to the Same Day Podcast, where we discuss driving incremental business growth and other topics related to real estate, property management, and entrepreneurship. Now to the show at hand.
Matt here. I'm the host of the Same Day Podcast, where I connect with top business leaders and real estate experts. Past guests include Devin Howland talking about some economic development in Fayetteville, Arkansas, Yoni Schmidt of the Keyrenter team talking about property owners frequently asked questions, and Kevin Evans of Liberty Air Services talking about HVAC systems, how they work, and why they are so darn complicated. Owners often ask us those questions, so we had a podcast talking about all of that for the sake of our owners. Today's episode is brought to you by Chris Lyle State Farm. Chris Lyle State Farm helps you protect your most precious assets and investments, whether it's your home and auto investment, rental properties, or other valuables. Call Chris Lyle State Farm for a quick and painless phone call to potentially save double digits on all your insurance needs. Visit https://dialisle.com. I guess nowadays you just put it in your browser, dialisle.com. You don't need all that other nonsense. Or call his office at 918-878-7771. It's also today's episode is also brought to you by Keyrenter Property Management. At Keyrenter Property Management, we're a full-service property management company helping our clients buy, renovate, and operate real estate assets. We help our clients build wealth while taking the headache out of property management. Deana, we do a lot of stuff at Keyrenter, but one of the things we do and we're proud of doing is we work with Section 8. We work with Tulsa Housing Authority. So for anybody that wants to rent their houses on Section 8 but does not know how to navigate that process, we're going to talk about it today. You can also just call Keyrenter, KeyrenterPMC.com to get more details on how we could do that for you. Deana, I'm going to introduce you, but before doing that, I want to say thank you to Casper Palmer, who is the inspection director for THA, Tulsa Housing Authority. We spoke a while ago about all sorts of questions that owners have pertaining to the inspection process and how to pass inspections on the first go around. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's been at THA for like 23 plus years or something crazy like that. And I love talking to Casper. He's, I think in reality, Casper gets a bad rap because he has to bring down the hammer.
Yes,
inspectors have to bring down the hammer, but he's like, hey, here are the rules for the game.
Yes.
They're just written right here. If you just play by the rules,
that's right.
All I can do is pass you. So if you just know what to do, he kind of lays it out. It's
exactly.
Then you can do it all the right way. Deana Irving is the Landlord Relations Specialist at THA. Her goal is to be that point of contact for landlords and recruit other landlords to use the program at Tulsa Housing Authority. So she's here to help us understand how we can be better landlords, how we can be better participants in the Housing Authority program, Tulsa Housing Authority, and the Section 8 program. And a fun little fact about Deana, she's got a little white dog named Louie. Welcome to the show, Deana. Appreciate you being here.
Nice to be here. Thank
you. First of all, I have to apologize for my appearance. I was just telling Deana, for our guests that are watching me that normally see that I'm shaved. I moved this weekend. Moving is a terrible, terrible process. I moved into my in-laws' house, which I shouldn't like. I'm not certain whether I should have like loser tattooed across my forehead, but whatever. I moved my whole family into my in-laws house and now everything's in boxes and I can't find anything. So I'm wearing the Keyrenter hoodie and I haven't shaved in a week. So you know what? Life is good. Life is good. No problem. So I apologize for my disheveled appearance. You look nice and I can't reciprocate, obviously. You're new to THA, relatively speaking. What were you doing before you joined the team over there?
So I am new. I've been here, I guess 3 months now. So I was a real estate agent for about 17 years. I've done some property management as well. So yes.
I love it. What have you learned in 3 months? What can you tell us about the Section 8 program? Can we just start with the basics?
Yeah. I feel like that we need more landlords. There's so many people with vouchers out there searching, and we need more properties. Mm-hmm. And so that's basically why I'm here, to kind of help educate landlords, help them navigate the process, answer any questions, just kind of be a liaison, just to have that sounding board, that person. Just it is a little bit, if you're not educated, on our processes. A lot of landlords call me and they're just like, I don't know where to begin, so I kind of walk them through the process. So that's basically why I'm here.
Was there formerly a landlord relations specialist position, or did they create this for the sole purpose of helping landlords kind of get a grasp of what's going on?
Yes, from what I've been told, there was one many years ago, like 10 years ago. But they decided to bring the position back because they felt it was needed, especially with, our market the way it is, to kind of help landlords feel like, they can get through this process.
So tell me just a little bit about the Section 8 program. It's essentially, let's start from the basics. HUD funded, voucher issues. Like, what are the types of vouchers that the Tulsa Housing Authority issues, and how does it get funded fundamentally?
So it's funded by HUD, and the Section 8 voucher program, is designed for, low income, no income, tenants that, just are in need of help, and they get on the program, and it's designed to, eventually they get off the program. But we do have a lot of elderly who are on fixed, assistance, and they stay on the program for, the rest of their lives. We do have some project-based vouchers. We have the emergency voucher. We have the VASH, the veterans, that we work closely with caseworkers at the VA. So that's a little bit about an overview about what our vouchers are.
I mean, so that's 4 different types. There's a project-based voucher, which essentially is, I think, 70 or 75% of a like a multifamily apartment complex or whatever has to be dedicated to accepting THA residents. And then I guess THA kind of anchors in the unit, so to speak, and says, we're going to put in people from THA or housing. We're going to put in voucher holders. A housing choice voucher is the voucher is given to the tenant. The tenant, they can then choose whatever house that they want, and that house has to be in compliance. And then there's the VASH program, which is essentially like a housing choice voucher, but it is
veterans.
It's veterans, and it is accompanied by a caseworker that helps the veteran kind of navigate the process and stay kind of compliant with the program.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
then the 4th one you said was the emergency.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so what's that?
So domestic abuse, they come from the shelters, and they can get an emergency voucher that way as well. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the emergency vouchers generally pay more. The payment standard is higher, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
It just depends. Depends on the tenant's situation.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And what does the tenant do? So forget for a moment the VASH and the emergency voucher, but for a regular housing choice voucher, how does a tenant qualify to get access to the Section 8 program?
So they will go to the website, to tulsahousing.org, and apply, or they can come into the lobby, and we have kiosks where they can apply. So they'll start the application process, and then they'll be on a waiting list. And then we pull selections. We pull people off that waiting list periodically. And
so people can be on a waiting list for a year or 2 years or 3 years, depending on how many landlords are signing up for the program. Is that right?
It could be 3 months to 3 years.
Wow.
It could take a while. Yes.
Wow. So you need more landlords to be inspired and to, want to join the program.
We do. Because, a tenant, their voucher is, once they get issued a voucher, it's for 60 days. A lot of our tenants are searching in place, and they can't find properties. So they have to do an extension. So, that tells us we need more landlords to participate.
Right. What are, I guess on that point, what are some of the objections that owners have when they're thinking about accepting voucher holders? I should say, state my biases. I'm in favor. We manage a ton of properties that we do Section 8. I also own properties I personally am a landlord, Section 8 landlord. So I'm a big fan of the program. I think it's got tremendous merits, not just for helping the community, but also for, having consistent payment. There was a time when people that were accepting Section 8 vouchers were looking pretty darn smart during COVID and getting their rent payments on time, and everybody else was questioning where their rent was going to come from when their people had been unemployed. But anyway, so those are my biases. What are some of the objections that that potential landlords have, and how can we, address those objections?
Right. Well, stability, that's that number one. If your tenant, loses their job, or we have COVID, we have a pandemic, you're going to get that payment no matter what. And, that I think is number one, stability. I feel like a lot of the landlords feel like the Section 8 tenants are different than a fair market renter. That they don't have jobs, but most of them do. Most of them, have some sort of income, and some have to pay a portion of the rent, not all of them. But I feel like, there's just this misconception that they're worse, but you can have the same, you know, you can have a fair market or you can have a market renter, tear your property up as well,
Yeah,
or not pay rent. I
for
mean,
sure.
I think that it has tremendous benefits for the landlords.
And I mean, do people, so people often say to you, I'm afraid that a Section 8 tenant is going to tear my property
Yeah.
up in a way that a conventional tenant would not?
Yes, they do. But actually, these tenants who have the Section 8 voucher, they realize how hard it is to find a property, to find a landlord to accept, participate in the program. And a lot of them are, they're just so thankful, that they are going to take really good care of your property
Yeah.
because they know how hard it is to find a property.
I mean, I'm just looking right now. The Oklahoma and U.S. federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. That means if somebody works 40 hours a week, monthly they pull in $1,160. If they work 60 hours a week, they pull in something like $1,700 an hour. That's before taxes, I guess, and I don't know how much tax would be removed at that price. So if you're trying to feed a family of 2 or 3 on, I mean, realistically, let's just call it 40 hours a week on $1,100.
Right.
There's no way to do it. And that's
No way to do
so
it.
you can be an incredibly hardworking person and just
Exactly.
not be able to make ends meet
And
in
not be able to
America
make
today.
it. That's right. That's right.
And I think, people that have jobs and have saved up money and are landlords sometimes say, well, those people need to pull themselves up from their bootstraps.
No.
At $7.25 an hour, you just can't.
How
That's
can
not
you?
possible.
Yeah. And with the price of food going up,
Totally.
I mean, when we could pay a portion of their rent, they could be paying some, what they can.
Yeah.
But, it's tremendous benefits for
Yep.
landlords. To me, it just opens more avenues for them to, fill their properties.
So that's a really good point. I mean, there are many tenants out there looking for properties. I think certainly in this, we're recording this on the 28th day of November. We have seen an uncharacteristic dip in leasing. I would say normally around this time, from the time that school starts, we lose 2 weeks of real prime leasing, and then we kind of drops off and it picks back up afterwards. But realistically, we've seen an uncharacteristic drop, and I think that's because of uncertainty related to interest rate increases,
Yep.
and uncertainty related to the general kind of future of the economy. Right? People think that the bottom's going to fall out, and there have been massive layoffs in tech, and there have been big companies like Walmart and Amazon and other folks that are just on hiring freezes because we don't know what's going to happen with the economy. And disposable income, people start pulling in their horn, so to speak. So
Exactly.
it's nice to have alternatives to people that can rent your houses, and if there's a huge wait list, then you always have somebody that will come in and fill your house. And then it's about the landlord realistically and making sure that you're visiting your properties, that you're tracking your residents and making sure that they're good quality people. You can go visit their homes.
Yes.
Beforehand, you can have them sign paperwork, and you can do a bunch of other stuff that helps ensure that you're getting good quality residents. I know we have some people that are neat freaks. Their homes smell wonderful.
Yes.
They keep their homes cleaner than I do. I just moved, as I said, and so I realize now now we're hoarders, and
Yes.
we're have to throw away stuff now.
That's
So like
exactly
walking into
right.
somebody's house that has everything's beautifully
Yes.
kept, and there are candles and everything else. It's you realize that there are all sorts for sure.
Yes, we encourage, landlords, visit your properties, change your air filters, go do an inspection periodically, enforce
Right.
your lease.
Right. You were talking about food prices going up.
Yes.
The other thing that's gone up is rent prices.
Oh, yes.
Payment standards, which are, I guess, I don't know if but kind of HUD. I think they're probably nationally somehow directed, but also they're local, right? Because our rent is not the same as Massachusetts, Boston's rent, for example. Right. But the payment standards have changed. How does that change get communicated, and where can owners find those payment standards?
Yes. So HUD, they take into consideration, the fair market rents, and that's how they set the payment standard vouchers as well. But they can find that at tulsahousing.org. We have under the housing options, select housing choice voucher program, and there's a lot of good landlord information on there. We always post them on there.
Cool. And I see
Yeah.
the VASH. There's also VASH
Yes.
information up there.
Uh-huh.
Cool. So you can find the payment standards there.
Yeah.
How often does this go up? I mean, is this
So
something that doesn't
usually
go up once
usually
a
it's
decade?
once a year, but
Wow.
it's gone up twice in the last year.
Wow.
Yes.
So there is a serious recognition that like
Yes.
rents nationally have gone up and they've been trying to
Yes.
keep up with that increase.
Absolutely. Yes.
What's the process for landlords that, many of our owners come to us and they may have been self-managing prior to bringing it to, a third-party property manager, and they may not have raised rents in the past ever, which is scary for us because we then feel like they haven't been in the property, and there's a lot of deferred maintenance because people say, I don't want them to raise my rent, so I'm not going to complain about anything. So we always say, look, I'd rather them complain about a leaky toilet so that you know how to fix it, and then you just charge market rent, but that's a different story. Exactly. What's the process for raising rents for housing choice voucher participants?
So on the website, tulsahousing.org, there is a rent increase form, and they can go there. There's an instruction. There's 2 pages. One is the instruction sheet. It tells who you need to send it to. It goes line by line, walks you through it. They can always call me. I've helped landlords fill it out before as well. Cool. The landlord and the tenant has to sign it, and then they turn it into us, and then we process it. If they want a new lease, they can attach a new lease to it or without. So they can send that to us. We process it, and we have to give the tenants 60 days notice for the effective date.
Cool.
They've got to have a 30-day notice before their rent going up. It takes us 30 days to process it.
Okay. So 60 days in advance. That's yes. And you can raise it to the new payment standard, or how does that work? If you were formerly, so I'm looking at the payment standard now. It says 2-bedroom voucher, $925. So if you were at $825 last year, do you raise it $50 to $875? Can you raise it all the way to $925? I mean, how does that work?
So you can put whatever rent that you want to raise it to. And whoever, when they process the rent increase, they're going to make sure that it's rent reasonable.
Fair market, yeah.
They're going to check those rents, rent amounts on affordablehousing.com. That's where we go to pull our comparables for the properties. So they're going to make sure that, it comps out at that price.
And so this 2-bedroom voucher for $925, does that mean that the all bills paid number, the full amount that a tenant can be responsible for is $925? No, the tenant that a landlord can charge is $925. That means you have to deduct, if you're not paying for electricity on behalf of a tenant, you have to deduct the electricity amount.
So what I tell landlords, there's an estimated utility chart on the website, and to take their unit and kind of go down and say, okay, this is how much the gas is, this is how much electric is, and then add that up, and then minus the rent, or add that to the rent that they want to request for that unit. And it just needs to be the $925 or below, So say like if it was the 2-bedroom unit, that's a good place to start.
Okay.
Then once they process it, now they can go up a little bit more than that, but it all depends on the tenant. It depends on their income. It depends on, their situation. So it's just kind of a good starting point.
I've seen vouchers in the past that have 2 numbers on them. And they sometimes are the same and they sometimes are different. Do you have can you explain? I mean, do you have a voucher in front of you by chance?
That I do not know. We would have to ask a housing coordinator on that.
But what are those numbers generally speaking?
So that tenant is going to be, approved for, say they're a household of, one person, and they get a studio or a 1-bedroom. It just all depends on how many's in the household, what their income is. And if they do have income, they make it go a little bit higher. It just all factors in.
Got it. But okay, so if anybody doesn't have a full understanding, they can reach out to you and we can talk about some contact details at the end of the show.
Definitely find out.
You mentioned before we were on the podcast that there are some customer service issues that you've heard about, complaints from landlords from the past. I want to just kind of name those. Can you talk a little bit about what those complaints were and how they're being addressed going forward? I know it's clear from, THA putting you in place, having a landlord relations specialist, that they want to change the way things have been vis-a-vis the past. They want to improve client relations or landlord relations, and they want to, make it an easier process generally. What were those complaints and what's happening to, assuage some of those concerns?
Yes. I'm new, but just by hearing complaints and, they used to have 14 housing coordinators. Now, we have 5. So there's a lot of the workload there's a lot,
Sure.
and the complaint have been, no customer service, no phone calls. Well, they hired me a landlord relations specialist. I have a designated number. Landlords can call. I can help them answer any questions they may need. And just kind of be that person that helps them, hey, have I got my rent increase? When is this going to go into effect? Kind of tell them where we're at in the process.
Beautiful.
So that housing coordinator doesn't have to stop, what they're doing, and I can go and run their questions down. So that really helps.
Got it. So you have access to the system, or you have some sort of meeting with them and you can ask them all the questions and get back to a landlord.
Absolutely. I just run over to their office.
Wow. Excellent. Great.
So,
there's so much if I'm just honest, we deal with this with owners and with tenants, and it's different. Yes. Different people do different stuff. But like, a conversation can never be, hey, did my rent increase pass? Was it in? It's like, hey, by the way, the sky's blue today and it rained yesterday, and my back hurts, and
yes, and that's
the disruption.
Always what it is.
It's never so simple as
did my rent increase pass. It's never so simple. But just to kind of help those housing coordinators, just take that off their plate, sure. Just kind of help answer those questions, and then, in a timely manner too, as well. So, we're trying to improve that.
Will housing coordinators be in touch with landlords directly if they have additional questions?
Or yes, will that pass through you? They absolutely will. If they have a question for that, a case that they're working on, they will definitely reach out to that landlord.
But for owners that have just random questions, they should reach out to you instead of to the housing coordinator.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Tell us, in your experience, what is something about the Housing Choice Voucher Program, or really any of the voucher programs, that new real estate investors often don't know and should know to be, more compelled to join the program?
Well, I think that, they just need to. I think the biggest thing is not knowing about how to go about it. How do I sign my house up? They just don't know. They don't give us the house. They're still the landlords. I feel like a lot of landlords think, well, I can't enforce my lease. I can't, give that tenant a notice for non-payment, or, they somehow feel like that they're giving it control over to us. And that's not true. They're still the landlords. We're just paying subsidy for that tenant. They need to enforce their lease. They can vet their tenants. They can choose whoever they want to choose, right. And I get calls all the time. Landlords are calling and they're like, they haven't paid me. Well, enforce your lease, but somehow they feel like they can't.
Yeah.
So I just feel like they're just, they don't understand. They're not giving us any kind of control over their tenants or their unit.
Right.
I just think it's about education. I think they just don't know. And there really hasn't been a person, in this position to stop and kind of explain that, So I get new landlord calls all day long, and they're just like, I don't know how to start, how does the property, become Section 8, and I think that they don't know how to even market to tenants with vouchers, Yep. So
thankfully you're in the role.
Absolutely. So that's what I'm here for.
Deana Irving's a landlord relations specialist at Tulsa Housing Authority. Her goal is to be the point of contact for landlords and to recruit other landlords to use the programs, the voucher programs at Tulsa Housing Authority. Deana, where can people reach you directly if they have questions, by email or phone? What's your preferred methodology?
They can call me 918-581-5951. That's my desk phone. They can email me at Deana, DEANA.Irving, IRVING at tulsahousing.org.
Deana, it's been great having you on the show. I appreciate you answering all the questions that I know our landlords have. And I want you to be careful and take care of Louis.
I will.
It's a very important role. Take care of the owners, but also take care of Louis.
That's right. He takes care of me.
That's just mutual. It's kind of like GHA and landlords.
He takes care of me. That's right. See?
Mutual taking care.
And without landlords, I don't have a job. So we need landlords.
We do need landlords. Thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks for listening to the Same Day Podcast. Tune in to a new show each week and be sure to subscribe to get future episodes.